The holding field on Traverse 9 didn't kill its prisoners. It erased the memory of what it felt like to be real. The Korathi Empire built it after the war with the Vel Syndicate, a prison where time moved differently inside than out. 30 days in the field meant 18 months alone in your own mind. Gravity inconsistent, light cycling through spectrums that made sleep impossible to track. No torture, no guards, just you and the slow realization that you couldn't remember if you'd been standing or sitting 5 minutes ago. The Vel warlords lasted 11 days before they begged for execution. The record was 23 days, held by a Korathi monk who trained for sensory deprivation his entire life. He came out unable to speak his own name when the human frigate captain was sentenced for breaching the neutral zone, and the Korathi magistrates gave her 30 days. Standard protocol. They expected her to break within 10. Captain Oswin entered the field without ceremony. No final words, no theatrical defiance. She just stepped through the shimmer and the universe folded her away from herself. The Korathi warden, Takesh, watched the monitors. The field didn't transmit images, only biometric data, heart rate, brainwave patterns, stress hormones. In the first hour, Oswin's readings showed the expected spike. Cortisol flooding, neural activity scattering as her mind tried to anchor itself to something, anything consistent. By day 3, real time, not field time, her readings had stabilized. Not calmed, stabilized. Her heart rate had found a rhythm, irregular but steady. Her brain waves showed something Takesh had never seen in the monitoring logs. Deliberate patterned construction. She was doing something in there. Takesh pulled the archives, compared her readings to every prisoner who'd entered the field. The others showed degradation, neural pathways misfiring, identity markers dissolving. Oswin's readings showed architecture. She was building something in her mind, using the isolation itself as material. On day 7, her vitals showed a moment of crisis. Heart rate spiking to dangerous levels, then plummeting. The pattern suggested complete psychological collapse, but 3 hours later she had reconstructed. Her rhythms returned tighter than before, as if she'd discarded something unnecessary and rebuilt without it. Takesh realized what she was doing. She wasn't enduring the field. She was mapping it, in learning its rhythms, finding the seams in the temporal distortion and using them to create structure where none should exist. The magistrates were notified. They extended her sentence. If a human could adapt to the field, they needed to know its limits. 30 days became 60. 60 became 90. Oswin's readings never broke again. On day 341, real time, nearly a decade inside, the field destabilized. Not from malfunction, from interaction. Oswin had found a way to touch the distortion itself, pressing against its edges until the machinery couldn't compensate. When they pulled her out, Takesh expected a broken shell. Instead, Captain Oswin stood in the exit chamber, thinner, older, eyes carrying something too vast to name. She didn't speak immediately. When she did, her voice was sandpaper and stone. "I counted every second," she said. "All 9 years, 4 months, and 16 days of them. You wanted to see if isolation could erase me. I used it to prove I existed." The medical scan showed the cost. Her neural pathways had reorganized entirely. Sections of her brain repurposed, memories compressed and archived with mechanical precision. She'd survived by becoming something slightly less human and far more deliberate. The person who entered the field and the person who left it shared a name, but not a continuous self. She had died in there quietly and rebuilt from her own ruins. Multiple times, the data suggested, each collapse and reconstruction visible in her brain's architecture like rings in ancient wood. The Korathi magistrates convened in silence. No species had ever adapted to the holding field. It was meant to be impossible. Oswin hadn't broken its rules. She'd made the suffering irrelevant through sheer, meticulous refusal to let time unmake her. They released her with a formal apology. Traverse 9 was decommissioned 6 months later, its purpose voided. You cannot break someone who treats their own dissolution as data. Oswin returned to human space. She never captained again, never needed to. She took a position at the edge of colonized territory, cataloging stars in the deep nothing where time stretched thin and silence was just another environment. She'd learned something in the field that the Korathi never intended to teach, that the self is not sacred, it's a tool. And if you're willing to dismantle and rebuild it enough times, there's no prison that can hold what you've become. The last log entry in the Traverse 9 archives was a single line from Warden Takesh. Recommends species-wide advisory. Humans do not survive suffering. They use it.